Tanya has a son named Mark. She sends him to the hardware store one day where he meets a widow by the name of Carissa. She invites him home to fix her shower but ends up wanting to test it with him. So they end up making love and starts a weird relationship which Tanya, his mother, doesn't approve. One day while her son is with Carissa, she goes to try to save her son, but Carissa tells Tanya she doesn't like her and that she will brainwash Mark, so he cut ties with her. Meanwhile, upstairs Mark makes a discovery. He sees a gun but feels amused by it instead of being scared. This will be a mistake as he has no idea how dangerous this woman is. Nearly then goes downstairs to grab some muffins and Carissa gives him the idea to move in with her. She adds that she has this big house by herself and that way he can get away from his mom. But Mark doesn't think it's a good idea. He adds that in a month he is moving to college. Hearing that, she gets a little angry, realizing in a month they probably won't be together. She tells him to go home. Outside, his best friend Walter picks him up. He is impressed by the house. But Mark is in his thoughts. After hearing what he said to her, Walter understands why she is mad. He even thinks Mark should move out of his mom. Meanwhile, Tanya goes to talk to her friend Randy and expresses how she is worried about her son. She thinks he is under some kind of spell. She wants to find a way to get Mark to wake up. Randy then reveals to her he thinks she should allow Mark to make his own mistakes. He adds that he needs this to grow up. But Tanya screams at the poor man who just tried to help. She thinks he takes Carissa's side. She then gets the idea to invite Melanie, the girl Mark used to have a crush on. Later that day, Mark is on FaceTime with Carissa. She doesn't seem happy, so he apologizes for earlier and tells her he doesn't want this to end between them. Carissa shares her thoughts on how manipulative she thinks his mother is. Tanya then calls her son and that annoys Carissa more. Once downstairs, Mark realizes his mom invited Melanie over. On the other side, the impatient Carissa gets more irritated and pours herself some drinks. Mark then comes back and shut down the computer on her, saying his mom needs something. Carissa slams the table as she keeps boiling inside. Moments later, Tanya gives her car to Mark and Melanie, pushing them to go on a date. They do and spend a wonderful evening together. We are then shown someone is spying on them from a distance. Melanie asks him to kiss her, but he tells her he has been seeing someone lately. But he tells himself screw it and kisses her. Carissa, who was the person spying on them, just witnessed them kissing. She is so furious in her car. Later that night, Mark comes home from his date, and Tanya wonders how it was. Meanwhile, Melanie gets back to her car all happy, but out of nowhere Carissa appears from behind. She puts duct tape on her mouth and a knife to her. She warns her that Mark belongs to her and to never see him again. And as a reminder, she leaves a scratch with the knife on one of her cheeks. The next day, Mark calls Melanie, who doesn't answer. Meanwhile, Tanya goes to visit Randy, but he is tired of her trying to control everyone around her. Mark tries to call Melanie again, but still no answer. He is surprised as he was sure they had a good time. He announces to Walter he is ready to break up with Carissa. At the same time, Carissa goes to visit Randy at his job. She tries to hit on him, but he kicks her out. Later that day, Walter goes to Carissa's house. He tells her he heard it's over between her and Mark, so he wants to be next to sleep with her. She is shocked to learn that they broke up. Mark at home tries to call Melanie again. This time she picks up. She isn't showing her face and tells him they shouldn't see each other again. At this moment Carissa calls. She tells him that her important friend is coming tonight so he can pitch his app to him. He hesitates but agrees because it's his dream to make this app. Tanya is disappointed hearing he goes to see that woman again. She picks him up and moments later Mark is pitching his app to the wealthy investor. But the investor tells him they already have a similar app in the works. He then leaves and Mark wants to exit as well. But Carissa wants him to stay to have champagne. He turns away to leave and she knocks him out with a bottle of champagne. The night then arrives and Tanya tries to call her son again, but nothing. Meanwhile, Mark is with Carissa. He is tied up and asks her why is she doing this. She accuses him to make her believe he is in love with her. She doesn't want just a summer thing. Mark begs her to let him go, but she kisses him instead. The next day, Tanya wakes up to her son still not home. She goes to his room and wonders where is he. She calls Walter and leaves him a voicemail. Meanwhile, Mark is still in that sauna all tired up. She offers him some water but pours it on the ground in front of him. She then grabs a metal stick and makes a wound near his stomach. He screams for help. Tanya on her side goes to talk to Randy and explains her son is missing. Carissa then realizes Tanya left Mark 35 missed calls. She decides to text her as Mark saying, "I'm at Carissa's house, come get him." She has a smile on her face and takes her gun in her hands. Minutes later, Tanya arrives at the residence. Carissa lets her in and wants to talk to her. She sits her down while sipping some glass of wine and tells, "We are about to find out how much you love your son." Carissa throws some handcuffs at Tanya, warning her to put them on if she ever wants to see her son again. Tanya gets scared and puts them on. She is then brought to the poor Mark, who is now tied up for almost a day. Tanya gets mad and Carissa points a gun at them. She tells Tanya she will give her a chance to save him. All she has to do is shoot herself and she will let Mark go. Tanya thinks she is crazy. Carissa then slaps her, saying her son was about to leave her. She then leaves the gun on the floor and exits, giving her time to make a decision on her deal. Randy on the other end is trying to reach Tanya. In the sauna, Tanya grabs the gun pointing at the door, ready to shoot Carissa. The night arrives and Carissa is sipping some wine while waiting. Tanya gets so weak with all that steam. She admits to her son that she has been so selfish and actually was trying to protect him from the dangers of the world but was actually protecting herself. She apologizes to him. She then decides to shoot herself. She takes the gun ready to do it, but Cassie bangs the door, which makes her change her mood. She tells her son, "Your mom is about to kick the crap out of this monster." Someone then rings the bell. Carissa is surprised, wondering who is that. She then hears a gunshot, so she goes to the sauna. Tanya is on the ground, so she goes to check if she is really dead, but Tanya surprises her with a punch. Both women get into a violent fight and Tanya knocks the hell out of Carissa. She then takes her son outside, but Carissa comes back with the metal pick. At this moment, Randy arrives and sends a spear in her. She falls in the pool. They then hear some noises coming from a box. Randy opens and it's Walter, who was tied up there. Days later, Mark is moving out with Melanie. Randy promises to take care of his mom. Mark is leaving and Tanya offers Walter to stay for dinner, but he tells them his girlfriend is picking him up. She arrives and they are shocked she is old. The movie then ends. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and check out other movie summaries we have on our channel.